Sagar introduced the topic. Did I get it right? How to be a Kriyaban all the time? Yes, practice how to practice Kriya all the time. And that topic reminded me of something.
That's right. I can hear.
Is it okay? It reminded me of something that occurred to me about 2 months ago when I was in Delhi. I've told this story just last week to another group, but I don't think any of you were there. But as I was in Delhi, there was a lady who came up to me after the discourse, and I don't quite remember what the discourse was about. Topic, it was about Kriya of something, and I became very enthusiastic about Kriya, exhorting the audience to greater depth, to greater energy, to greater Kriya, and doing it all. And so I was being my enthusiastic side was coming out, and it seemed to be well received because people were there. And afterwards, though, she came up and she spoke to me afterwards, and I had, in her opinion at least, I think I'd gone a little too far in my enthusiasm because it was intimidating to her. My God, I have to do more and more, and it was such a burden to her mind that I was going a little bit more. So here, this topic today: how do we practice Kriya all the time? And we can exhort you to be a Kriyaban all the time, do more your whole life. And some of you might be thinking, oh my God, I'm already being asked to do 14 and something, 48, 108, and all this time is going into this, and now all the time we have to give everything. Well, so the answer is yes, but let's look at this. What are we talking about here? And perhaps there's a solution. Now, this lady, what I answered, and she went on to say, what you're asking, this is just too much. It's too much of me. And then she said, can't I just want to be a good person? Why can't I just be a good person? Isn't that enough? I try to be kind to people. I try to give, to share, to express, to live a dharmic life, in other words. Isn't that enough? And I said, ma'am, if there were more people like you in this world, it would be a blessed place. If more people would just be what you're aspiring to. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if there comes a time when you want more than that, let's talk. Let's talk. And because she was right. She was doing plenty. But for her, that was enough. And again, unfortunately, I had, in my enthusiasm, I perhaps wasn't sensitive to the audience or her situation, because it was a mixed audience. I wasn't speaking to all Kriyabans. And so perhaps I went a little too far in my enthusiasm. But so she had a point. But then I was thinking about this. I think, this topic of how to be all the time. And it reminded me of a story that you saw the movie Awake. I think most of you must have seen that movie. Remember the story of Herb Jeffries in there? I'll just recount it quickly. But Herb Jeffries was new to the path. He was a musician, actor, and in the late 1940s, very popular. And but a worldly man. He was in that environment, the Bollywood type environment, is probably pretty worldly. And it was that. Well, he was in Hollywood, and so he came to Master. But he read the autobiography. He was very attracted to it all. And but he wasn't sure. He says, I keep hearing everybody in the Bible that talks about thou shall not do this and shall not do that and shall not do. What can you do? And Yogananda says, do you smoke cigarettes? He says, yes, I do. You can do that. And then he says, Master said, do you drink alcohol? And Herb Jeffries says, oh, yes, I do. Master says, you can do that. And the Master says, do you enjoy promiscuous women? And Herb Jeffries says, well, as a matter of fact, yes. Or something to that effect. Yes, I do. You can do that. Now, Herb Jeffries was flabbergasted. What do you mean? I can do all these things. And I can still do this Kriya Yoga and do all these things and still... The Master says, yes, you can do that. But I cannot promise you that if you practice these teachings, as I say, in a little bit of time, you won't want to do those things anymore. And I just love that answer, because that's exactly what the solution is for us. If you're feeling pressurized, God, I can't. Not another exhortation to do more kriyas and to go deeper, and I wish I could give you that. But really, what is the answer? How to be a kriya? How to practice kriya all the time? Now, we're not obviously, when he wasn't meaning Sagar with that title that we're doing Kriya Yoga Pranayam 24 hours a day. That's the spirit of we're being a Kriyaban. We're doing more. We're being a disciple. We're doing what's being asked of us. We're loving God. We're giving our life to God. We're seva 100% of the time. And you're starting to think, oh, I'm getting tired already. But that's what's being asked of us. They say in the Old Testament, in the Bible, the old Jewish part of it, God is a jealous God. In other words, that sort of sounds funny to say it that way. There's competition between the gods, you might say. It sounds like that's what he's... But no, it's really he's saying, is what's saying is God is a jealous God. In other words, it's either me, my way, or the highway, as they say. In other words, there's only one room for one. It's a razor's edge, the spiritual path. God can only fit there. Everything, ego, no. Attachment, no. Desires, no. All of these things, they don't fit. God, they don't fit. So in the sense, only one. In other words, God alone is what is going to satisfy us. And now it doesn't mean that, so there's this competition between those two. There is, but it's not that God is there in competition with them. The answer here is, you might say I was meditating here and I was a song of Masters went through my mind. Touch me but once and I will change all my clay into thy gold. All the sense lamps that I did light have suited into worries, sitting at the door of my soul. Light thy resurrecting lamp in thy house, with thine own hands light the lamp of thy love. That's the answer. We light God's lamp in our house, in our spiritual house. And none of these other things have any attraction for us. We go, you could sort of say, there's the old stories of the thief or the bullies that attack the saint. They beat him up, and he's bleeding on the roadside, and after that's done, the saint isn't angry. He just looks into the bully's eyes. He says, "You have drawn blood from this body. Now I will draw love from your heart." And he looked into his eyes, and the bully, the ruffian, just melted because he saw that love coming from the saint. His heart just melted. And that's what we seek in life. And so oftentimes we approach the spiritual life, we approach the sadhana as if it's some sort of burden on us. Oh, you know, I've got to get up again in the morning, and I've got to do this, and it's just, we make it that way that it seems it's difficult. And yes, it's the fact of the matter, it takes some of that discipline. But you get to the point where that's what you want to do. This is, I think, the secret. It's as becoming a full-time devotee instead of a part-time devotee. Say, oh yeah, I'm a disciple half the time. I want to be a full-time disciple. But God, we have to pray for that. And I think this is the thing. We pray for God to touch our heart. And if God touches our heart, that's what we want to do. Everything else just goes away. And there's nothing left but God. I remember there's a story of Saint of Rabia al-Basri, a Islamic saint of the, I guess she was from Basra. I guess that's why they called her that in Iraq. And she was asked by somebody, she was giving a satsang, I imagine, and somebody asked her and says, Mother, do you love God? And of course she says, of course I love God. I love God with all my heart. He says, well, Mother, do you hate Satan? And she says, no, I don't hate Satan. And you know, everybody was, she doesn't hate Satan. What does she mean by that? She says, the love of God so consumes me that there's nothing left for me to hate. I have no energy, you might say, or there's nothing in me that wants to hate. I have no space for that because God fills my heart. There's nothing left. And I thought, that's what we want. And I think that's the secret of the spiritual path, is to consume oneself with love. Or as Swamiji said as we were driving down here, Suvarna and Sagar, somebody asked Swamiji about his sadhana, you might say, or his way on the spiritual life. And he said, Guru Bhakti, Guru Seva, and meditation. And the Guru Bhakti was first, you see. And of course, if you have that, Guru Seva's, I mean, what else are you going to do? You have to serve. You're just impelled. You have those, and then if naturally, when you have that, you want to be with God all the time. And in a sense, that's the secret, I think, is pray for the divine to touch you. Just one touch. Just one touch. And then everything will change. Everything will go. And then there's no space left for anything else. No other choice. And that's, you become, you might say, a full-time disciple, full-time devotee. Do I have time to keep going? No. My time is up. Oh. Really? Okay. Addressing this topic a little bit more directly, if we say, how do you be a Kriyaban, practice Kriya all the time? Really, I was thinking about that also, just very directly. You might take it from the other side, is directed. What are the qualities of a person who is a Kriyaban? I mean, a real, practicing the Kriya, and you know that a person is making progress. How do you even, might ask yourself, really, maybe not, don't look, looking at other people, maybe that's not the way to approach this. Maybe we look at ourselves. What is the quality? And I was trying to quickly capture what something Master said, and that might distinguish what a real devotee is like. Somebody who's made progress. And it was very simple. The thought that came to me is a real devotee, somebody who's accomplished, will be even-minded and cheerful in all circumstances. Now, ask yourself that. In every circumstance in life, are you even-minded and cheerful? You see, now that second one is, I think, maybe more important than the first one, because it's not always easy to be even-minded and cheerful. But if you're that way, if you're not, then we have still work to do, because it catches us. Sometimes we can do it 50% of the time. I can be even-minded 60%, 70, 80, 90. Can you do it all the time? Now, oftentimes people will meditate and they'll do Kriya and they're volatile and grumpy most of the time. And if that's the case, if you see somebody who's like that, something's wrong. They're not, now of course you have to measure where did they start, because maybe it was worse before. But if in your, and of course maybe it's when we're looking at somebody, maybe it's the mirror that we're looking at really here. We're looking at ourselves. So you have to say, now what is, if you're letting, if that's, you might see a self-definition that you recognize in yourself, grumpy and volatile, you're something you need to reassess that. And because just doing practice is not enough. You have a practice of Kriya this is why we don't initiate people immediately. They have to build a foundation. And if you skip the foundation in your life, you're going to find that it's very difficult to make deep progress in your meditation practice. And I think sometimes people, after practicing for years, they come to a point, they'll come to a plateau, you might say. It's a plateau that you get there, and then it's hard to break out of that plateau. And this often is the case, is there's some basic element of the foundation that as you try to go up, it keeps, the effort you put into climbing up, the foundation keeps crumbling under you, and you're always backfilling. And it's hard to make progress beyond a certain point. And usually this progress starts, or the foundation starts, with going back again to what Swamiji said, Guru Bhakti, Guru Seva, meditation. And the first two, that Guru Bhakti, Guru Seva, that's the essence, you might say, of the foundation upon which the meditation is built. If you don't have those two, you might say that you have a weak foundation, and you have to cultivate that side of it. And you could say they come once you have that love of the heart, the impulse to serve is almost automatic. But if you don't necessarily feel that love of the heart, do the service, and then you begin to get the love begins to come too. You begin to have that touch begins to happen, and you begin and both of those are an expression of attunement. And when you have that, the soul naturally wants to meditate. Swami used to say, Master said to Swami, and then he repeated, Master used to say, live in the self, stay in the self, come out a little bit to commune, do the appropriate, eat, do your duties, and return to the self and live in that self. Now that sounds a little dry when you first hear it, but if that self is this love of God, you really don't want to come out of that, really. This is where you want to stay. And then you become on fire for wanting to practice, because you'll see that your Kriya practice will then begin to develop and deepen that deeper and deeper and deeper. So I'm going to turn it over to my friend here. Oh, wait a minute.
I'll just hold this. Thank you. Can I just hold this? It's okay?
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
don't have a pocket.
You can put it in the pocket.
I don't have.
Oh, sorry.
Hello, everyone. It's really nice to be back and to see such wonderful friends and Guru Bhais. And Jaya and I were realizing that we've been coming here for 10 years now, giving programs in Mumbai from the very beginning of Ananda's work, and to see so many wonderful souls here now and such a great energy is really fulfilling for all of us. And when I was meditating here with you all, it was so deep. I don't know if you felt that, but it was very still, it was very quiet. This wasn't always the case, not just here, but in many places, but to be able to feel the depth is, I was thinking God can come anywhere. And if there's Guru Bhais and people meditating and all, you can just feel that presence. And so we're very happy that this is happening. We're just with you 100% supportive, and that so many people have come out. I see some old friends from the early days of Ananda here. And Preeti, please welcome Preeti. She's from Gargaon, just coming down, and she's living here now. This is her sister Neelam. But it's just, we're a family. And we're all helping each other. We're Master's family. And I remember when I was new on the path, I used to be concerned about various things. And I was worried, for one, about my spiritual progress and, just how I was doing and how I was going to get along and would I make it, and, what if I don't go deep, and what if I don't stop the breath, and what if I never see the spiritual eye? You've probably had these questions. What if Om never happens? And I used to go on like that for some time, and it was a complete waste of time. And then at a certain point, after many years, I realized I'm Master's child. I'm on this path, and it's really not my problem. It's up to him. I can't create a spiritual eye or, do all these things for myself. And I just started to relax. And I think for all of us, do your part, but don't fret. Don't overstress. Don't stress at all, but don't overdo. And I know at the ashram in Gargaon, we have a beautiful tree of Swamiji's. It has, he had it when he was here, still in his body. It's sort of like a grapefruit tree. I think it's pomelo or something, but the fruit is big, and it just is a very fragrant, the flowers are very fragrant, and the fruit just gets bigger and bigger, and you're just waiting for that to be ripe and ready. And I always, every year I ask the Mali, well, when is it, when is it going to be ready? It looks like he's about to pop out of the skin. And he has the same answer every time: Madam, it takes time. And he says, after Diwali, Diwali, look, this thing is ready now. And so we think, I'm ready, but it takes time. And I was thinking that about, this, what Jaya was saying about the anger and whatever the attitudes, the wrong attitudes are, those fall off. As you start doing, remember I started doing yoga postures, I loved it, I just wasn't angry anymore, People could do anything when I walked out of the class. I just said, oh, bless you. And I started chanting, and then things didn't disturb me, because I just was in another bhav. You want to get in another bhav. That's what being a Kriya Ban all the time is about. As you read Masters and Swamiji's books, you just feel happier. You come here, this is a blessing. I mean, it's crazy out there. It took us forever just to arrive. By the time you're here, you need a nap. It's you're worn out. I mean, thank God we could energize and do Mahamudra before, but I mean, this is a haven. You just can feel the vibration of the Master's just blessing. I just was in the meditation just saying, Master, just bless everybody. I mean, it's just, I mean, how do we end up here? I mean, we end up here on earth in a busy city, busy lives and all of this, but it's up to them. Give your life to God. Do what you can do, but then leave it. If your Master said, go on a worry fast, just don't worry. You don't want to sit with your feet up on the table, but you want to just share your life. Who's the guru? You? He's the guru. And so whenever I feel myself getting like that now, I just said, Master, I give it to you. I've done my best. I'm doing the best I can. Maybe it's not even the best, but I'm trying. And you have to help me. I think so many disciples live without their guru, but they call themselves a disciple. Isn't that interesting? But they never call on the guru. They don't talk to him. They don't really know who he is. You want to know who he is, and you want him to know you. And so keep that communication, and remember 75% is coming from God and Guru. You can't get there on your own. No matter what you do, you just can't do it. So offer yourself. Offer yourself at the feet of the Masters, and you know, you always want to hone in on your practices. That's why we have retreats, we have meditations, we have reviews, we have all these various things. You want to strive, but don't be tense. Like Master, like he told Herb Jeffries, I guarantee you, if you do these things, you won't want those things. You're going to change. And we know that change happens. And in my own life, to conclude, I remember as a child, you may remember this for yourself, I was always very happy. And we didn't have a lot, but we weren't poor. We just, we had enough. And there were 5 kids, and, we were always beating each other up. And I grew up with 2 boys, and then the girls came later, so we were wrestling and climbing the trees and throwing the football, and we had the skates and, all the things, and the bicycles, and we were so happy. I remember I was just happy, and it had nothing to do with anything. And then after a certain point, the happiness started going away. And I had a child's innocent happiness. Then it started going away. I don't know, sometime, in teenage, you have to have this, and you have to look good, and you got to have the right boots on, and, you got to have the right hairdo, and whatever. It just got, I mean, what happened to my joy? It just started going down, 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 down. And there were many years that it went down till I just knew that I needed help. And then when I got to Ananda and I met Swamiji, the joy came back. And it's probably what happened with you. I mean, at first it was just a trickle, but now, even the most crazy situations in life, I don't know if I'm even-minded and cheerful all the time in the midst of everything, but I can tell you that afterwards, I can laugh about it. Afterwards, I said, that was ridiculous. Why did I get upset about that? Whatever. Afterwards, there's a joy there, and I can see something that's so crazy happening, and I can laugh. Then I can laugh after, but I know that laughter, I didn't have that before I started on the path. I mean, I had it way back, but then when I got going, it came back. Don't forget it. It's there. And you're just uncovering. What I think it means to be a yogi, like Jayaji is saying all the time, is find that joy again. And you find it in satsang, you find it in seva, you find it in your guru bhais, in chanting, Remember Swamiji said near the end of his life, he said, I basically just feel joy now. And that's a good way to be. Master said, whatever little joy you feel, just blow on it, make it bigger, expand, just boom. And you'll find that it's there. It's so sweet. I mean, we're all brothers and sisters on the path. We're Gurubhais. And, you know, if you, like Preeti, we're very close, you know, from Gurgaon. And many people I know here, new, old friends, whomever, but I mean, it's not personal. We're here to help each other to find God. And, you know, a Gurubhai, you call them, or they need prayers or whatever, you go for it. And you're always uplifted. So this whole work here is, these are special people. It's not like your friends out there. And you'll find at certain times, you know that. And so we are here also to support you, to pray for you, to pray with you, to meditate with you. And just know Master's there. And he's with you all the time. So God bless you all.